The Wanderer's Rest sat on the edge of Station Helios 7, a massive metal structure that floated in the darkness between star systems. Inside the tavern, the air was thick with strange smells. Dozens of alien species filled the room, drinking, talking, and making deals. The lighting was dim, adjusted to comfort eyes that evolved under different suns. Dae-hyun pushed through the crowd, his crew following close behind. They had just finished 3 months of hauling cargo across the outer colonies. The payment had cleared in their accounts an hour ago. Now they wanted to relax, drink something strong, and forget about the cramped corridors of their ship. Bo-Ra, his engineer, slid into a booth near the back wall. She was already grinning, her eyes scanning the room for the service drone. Taemin, their navigator, sat next to her. He was young, barely 25, and still excited about visiting new stations. Hee-jin, the ship's medic, took the seat across from them. She moved with the quiet efficiency that came from years of working in tight spaces. 3 months, Bo-Ra said, leaning back against the wall. 3 months of recycled air and protein paste. I want something that actually tastes like food. Dae-hyun ordered drinks from a passing drone. The machine hovered away on silent anti-gravity engines. Around them, the tavern buzzed with activity. A group of insectoid krill were arguing in their clicking language near the bar. Several reptilian Vorax mercenaries occupied a large table in the center, their scales gleaming under the lights. Crystalline shardborn beings sat quietly in one corner, their bodies refracting light into rainbow patterns. Humans were still new to this part of space. First contact had happened only 40 years ago. Most aliens still did not know what to make of them. Some were curious, others were dismissive. The Vorax in particular seemed to find humans amusing. "Look at those soft things," one of the Vorax said loudly. His voice carried across the room. He was speaking in common trade language, the tongue that most species used for business. No scales, no armor, no natural weapons. How did they even survive long enough to build starships? His companions laughed, their throats rumbling with deep sounds. Dae-hyun felt Bo-Ra tense beside him. He put a hand on her arm. "Ignore them," he said quietly. "They are always like this," Taemin added. "Every station, someone thinks we look weak." The drinks arrived. They were expensive, but Dae-hyun did not care. They had earned this. He raised his glass. To another successful run. And to not dying in the void, they drank. The alcohol burned going down. It was real alcohol, too. Not the synthetic stuff they kept on the ship. For a few minutes, they just sat and enjoyed the simple pleasure of being somewhere that was not their cargo hauler. The Vorax, however, were not finished. Their leader, a massive creature with scars across his snout, stood up. He was at least 7 feet tall, his body covered in thick scales that could probably stop a knife. His name was Thraxus, according to the patch on his armor. He swaggered toward their booth. "Humans," he said, making the word sound like an insult. "I have heard stories about your kind. They say you come from a dangerous world, but looking at you, I think those stories are lies." Dae-hyun did not look up. "We are just here to drink." "We do not want trouble." "Trouble," Thraxus laughed. "There is no trouble. I'm simply curious. Your species has no claws, no fangs, no venom. You cannot even breathe most atmospheres without machines. What makes you think you belong among the real species of the galaxy?" Bo-Ra started to stand. Dae-hyun pulled her back down. "Not worth it," he whispered. Thraxus turned away, chuckling. He returned to his table where his fellow mercenaries were watching with interest. But he was not done. A few minutes later, one of his companions walked past their booth. As he passed Taemin, he stumbled deliberately. His drink, some kind of caustic liquid that hissed when it hit the floor, spilled across Taemin's jacket. "My apologies," the Vorax said, his tone making it clear he was not sorry at all. "These soft human clothes, they are so easy to damage." Taemin looked down at his jacket. The liquid was eating through the fabric, creating holes. He could feel the heat of it. Another few seconds and it would have reached his skin. Bo-Ra was on her feet before Dae-hyun could stop her. "You did that on purpose." The Vorax leaned down, bringing his face close to hers. His breath smelled like rotting meat. "And what will you do about it, little human?" The entire tavern had gone quiet. Everyone was watching now. This was entertainment for them. They wanted to see if the humans would fight back or run away. Dae-hyun stood slowly. He positioned himself between Bo-Ra and the Vorax. "We will do nothing. We will finish our drinks and leave. There is no need for this." "So weak," the Vorax said. But he backed away, returning to his table. The noise in the tavern slowly returned. Other species went back to their conversations. Daehyun sat down, his jaw tight. He hated backing down, but starting a fight in a station tavern was stupid. They could get arrested. They could lose their ship. It was not worth it. I need to use the facilities, Heejin said quietly. She stood and walked toward the back of the tavern where the restrooms were located. Daehyun watched her go. Something felt wrong. The Voraks were still watching their table. Several of the Krill soldiers near the bar had also taken interest. He should have trusted his instincts. Heejin disappeared down a side corridor. The restrooms were located there, along with storage rooms and emergency exits. The corridor was dimly lit and empty. 2 minutes passed. Then 3. Daehyun felt his stomach tighten. She has been gone too long. Bora stood immediately. Taemin was already moving. They crossed the tavern quickly, heading for the corridor. As they got closer, they heard voices. Clicking voices. Krill voices. They turned the corner and saw 3 Krill soldiers blocking Hyejin's path. She was backed against the wall. One of them was reaching for her with its large claw. I said no. Hyejin's voice was calm. Too calm. Move aside. Why so aggressive, human? One of the Krill clicked. We just want to be friendly. Final warning, Hyejin said. The Krill reached out. Its claw touched her shoulder. What happened next took less than 2 seconds. Heejin grabbed the Krill's arm with both hands. She twisted hard, rotating her whole body. There was a crack like breaking wood. The Krill's arm joint separated. Before it could even scream, she drove her elbow up into its thorax. The chitinous armor cracked. The Krill collapsed. The sound echoed through the corridor. Then it echoed into the tavern. Everything stopped. Every conversation, every movement. Every alien in the tavern turned to look at the corridor entrance. Daehyun, Bora, and Taemin reached Heejin's position. They did not ask questions. They did not need to. They formed up around her, their backs to each other, facing outward. The wounded Krill's companions stared at their fallen comrade. Then they looked at Heejin. Then they began to scream their battle cry. The tavern erupted into chaos. The 2 remaining Krill soldiers rushed forward, their multiple legs moving in a blur. Their mandibles clicked rapidly, creating a sound that made several nearby aliens step back. For most species in the galaxy, this sound meant serious danger. Krill were known as fierce warriors, bred in hive colonies where only the strong survived. Heejin did not move. She watched them come, her eyes calculating distance and speed. When the first Krill reached her, she ducked under its slashing claw and punched upward. Her fist connected with the soft joint where its head met its body. The Krill stumbled sideways, confused. Bora grabbed a bottle from a nearby table. She smashed it against the wall and held the broken glass like a knife. When the second Krill turned toward her, she slashed at its eyes. The creature reared back, its vision suddenly filled with sharp glass and danger. Across the tavern, Thraxus and his Vorax warriors stood up. They had been hoping for entertainment, and now they were getting it. But this was different from what they expected. The humans were not running. They were not begging. They were fighting. This will be fun, Thraxus said. He signaled to his warriors. They moved forward, eager to join the fight. In Vorax culture, tavern brawls were a way to prove strength and earn respect. They expected the humans to be easy targets. Taemin saw them coming. He picked up a chair and held it in front of him like a shield. When the first Vorax swung at him, he blocked with the chair legs, then shoved forward hard. The Vorax was caught off balance. Taemin brought the chair down on its knee joint. The Vorax howled in pain. Daehyun moved to the center of his crew. His mind was completely calm now. There was no fear, no anger, just cold calculation. He had grown up in the rough districts of Earth cities. He had been in fights before, but more importantly, he understood something that these aliens did not. Humans did not fight to show off. They fought to survive. A massive shape loomed over him. It was Thraxus, his scales gleaming, his claws extended. He was grinning, showing rows of sharp teeth. Let me show you how real warriors fight, human. Thraxus lunged forward with his right claw. It was a powerful strike, meant to show dominance. Daehyun did not try to block it. Instead, he dropped low and rolled to the side. As Thraxus stumbled past him, Daehyun grabbed a metal serving tray from a fallen table. He swung it with all his strength at the back of Thraxus's knee. The tray bent from the impact. Thraxus staggered but did not fall. His armor was too thick. But Daehyun had not expected to bring him down with one hit. He was testing, learning where the weak points were. Around them, the tavern had become a war zone. Other species were joining in now, not because they had any real grievance, but because this was how things worked in places like this. A fight started and everyone nearby either joined in or got out of the way. A shard-born being, its crystalline body refracting the light, watched from the safety of a corner booth. Its name was Rishan, and it was an anthropologist studying the various species of the galaxy. It had never seen humans fight before. What it was witnessing disturbed it deeply. The humans were not following any of the normal patterns. In most species, combat was ritualized. There were displays of strength, threats, posturing. Fights had rules, even unspoken ones. You did not attack from behind. You did not target weak points if you wanted respect. You showed your power through direct confrontation. The humans were ignoring all of this. Bora threw a drink in Akrill's face, then kicked its legs out from under it. Taemin was using chairs, tables, anything he could grab as weapons. Haejin targeted joints and weak points with surgical precision, and Daehyun was constantly moving, never staying in one place, making himself hard to hit. But what truly frightened Rishan was the coordination. The four humans never lost track of each other. They covered each other's blind spots without speaking. They worked together like parts of a single organism. A huge Vorax warrior, easily 3 times Daehyun's mass, charged straight at him. Its momentum was incredible. Most species would have been crushed. The Vorax was already celebrating its victory. Daehyun waited until the last possible moment. Then he sidestepped, grabbing the edge of a heavy table as he moved. He pulled the table with him, letting the Vorax's own momentum carry it forward into the table's edge. The impact caught the Vorax in the midsection. It tried to stop, but its weight was working against it. As it stumbled, Daehyun spotted what he was looking for. A metal chair leg had broken off during the chaos. He grabbed it, stepped in close, and drove the pointed end up under the Vorax's jaw, into the soft tissue where scales did not grow. The Vorax's eyes went wide. It made a choking sound and collapsed. It was not dead, but it was no longer fighting. The tavern went silent for a moment. Every alien stopped and stared. A human, one of the soft species with no natural weapons, had just taken down a Vorax warrior in single combat. Thraxus roared in fury. He charged at Daehyun from behind, breaking the unspoken rules of combat. But Bora saw him coming. She grabbed a handful of caustic cleaning solution from behind the bar and threw it in his face. Thraxus screamed, his eyes burning. Haejin was bleeding from a cut on her arm, but she did not stop moving. Akrill tried to grab her from the side. She turned into the grab, using its own grip as leverage to break free. Then she drove her knee up into its thorax, exactly where she had struck the first one. The exoskeleton cracked with the same sound as before. Taemin was backed into a corner by 2 smaller aliens. They thought they had him trapped. He grabbed a table, lifted it despite his shaking arms, and threw it at them. While they were dodging, he rushed past them and back to his crew. More and more aliens were getting involved now. The Wanderer's Rest had become a battlefield. Station alarms were blaring. Security would arrive soon, but for now it was just chaos. Daehyun's shirt was torn. He was breathing hard. His knuckles were bleeding, but his eyes were sharp, constantly scanning for the next threat. He saw a group of 5 aliens moving toward them from the left. Together, he said quietly. His crew heard him. They tightened their formation, backs almost touching. As the aliens rushed them, the humans met them not as individuals, but as a unit. Bora and Taemin took the ones on the sides. Haejin and Daehyun handled the center. They moved like they had trained together for years, though they had never practiced fighting together once. The aliens broke against them like water against rock. One by one they fell back injured or stunned. The humans kept fighting, relentless and efficient. Rishan, still watching from safety, was recording everything on a data device. This footage would change everything. The anthropologist could already see it. The galaxy thought it understood humans. They thought humans were weak, dependent on technology, soft. They were wrong. Humans were not weak. They were predators wearing the skin of civilized beings. And when that civilization was stripped away by violence, what remained was something that had survived millions of years of evolution on a world that tried to kill them every single day. Station security burst through the doors, their stun weapons raised. They stopped, shocked by the scene. 4 humans stood in a defensive circle, breathing hard but still ready to fight. Around them, spread across the destroyed tavern, were over 24 aliens from 6 different species. Some were unconscious, some were wounded. All of them had been defeated. The security chief, a gray-skinned being with 4 arms, slowly approached. "Lower your weapons. Lower your fists. Everyone is under arrest." Dae-hyun looked at his crew. They were hurt, tired, and covered in blood and other fluids. But they were alive. They were together. He nodded. They lowered their hands. But they did not separate. They stayed in formation until the security officers surrounded them with stun weapons ready. Only then did Dae-hyun allow himself to relax. The fight was over, but something else had just begun. The holding cells on Station Helios 7 were designed to contain multiple species, so they were plain and functional. Dae-hyun sat on a metal bench, his hands resting on his knees. His knuckles had stopped bleeding, but they would bruise badly. Across from him, Bora was pacing back and forth like a caged animal. Taemin leaned against the wall, his eyes closed but clearly not sleeping. Heejin was in the medical bay getting her arm treated under guard. Hours passed. No one came to question them. No one told them what would happen next. Dae-hyun knew they were reviewing the security footage. Every station had cameras everywhere. The truth would come out. They had not started the fight. They had defended themselves. Surely that would matter. In another part of the station, Rishan was doing exactly what Dae-hyun hoped someone would do. The Shard-born anthropologist sat in front of a data terminal, reviewing every second of the footage from multiple angles. But Rishan was not just looking at what happened. The anthropologist was trying to understand why it happened the way it did. Rishan played the footage again. The moment Heejin broke the krill's arm, the precision of it, the complete lack of hesitation. Most species telegraphed their violence. There were threat displays, warnings, escalation, but the human female went from calm to lethal in a fraction of a second. Then the others, the way they moved to her without question. No debate about who was at fault. No attempt to negotiate, just immediate, absolute support. Rishan had studied dozens of species, and this kind of pack loyalty was rare. Even species that traveled in groups usually had hierarchies, politics, individual interests. These humans acted like they were one being with 4 bodies. The anthropologist started searching through the galactic database for information on humans. There was not much. Humanity was new to the galactic community. Most of the information was basic biology, atmospheric requirements, trade agreements. But Rishan dug deeper, accessing academic networks and research databases. What Rishan found was terrifying. Humans came from a planet called Earth, classified as a Class 12 death world. Most life in the galaxy evolved on stable planets with consistent climates. Earth had ice ages, volcanic periods, asteroid impacts. It regularly tried to kill everything living on it. Humans survived by being adaptable, tough, and smart. Rishan read about human evolution. They were pursuit predators. They chased their prey across vast distances until the prey collapsed from exhaustion. They had endurance that most species could not match. They could regulate their body temperature through sweating, allowing them to keep moving when other predators had to stop and rest. But the truly disturbing part was human history. Rishan pulled up files on human warfare. The data was incomplete because humans had not shared everything with the galactic community yet. But what was available was shocking. Humans had been fighting each other for their entire recorded history. Not just occasional conflicts like most species, but constant, endless warfare. They had developed thousands of ways to kill each other. They had created weapons that could destroy their entire planet. They had concepts like total war, where the goal was not just to defeat an enemy, but to completely eliminate their ability to ever fight back. Rishan found descriptions of something humans called martial arts. These were entire systems of combat, refined over centuries, taught to civilians, practiced as recreation. Humans had combat sports where they fought each other for entertainment. They had military traditions going back thousands of years. The anthropologist sat back, the crystalline structure of its body flickering with agitation. The galaxy had completely misunderstood what humans were. They looked soft. They seemed friendly, but they were predators who had spent millennia learning to kill efficiently. Rishan began writing a report. Meanwhile, in the security office, the chief was having the same realization. She had watched the footage a dozen times. Every time she saw something new that disturbed her. The humans used everything as weapons: furniture, bottles, cleaning solutions, broken chair legs. They targeted vulnerable areas without hesitation. They worked together with frightening coordination, but they had not started the fight. The footage was clear. Heejin had been cornered and threatened. She gave warnings. She only acted when she was actually touched. Everything after that was self-defense. Legally, the humans had done nothing wrong. The security chief made her decision. She walked down to the holding cells and opened the door. Taehyun looked up, his expression neutral. "You are free to go," the chief said. "The footage shows clear self-defense. No charges will be filed against you or your crew." Taehyun stood slowly. "What about the others?" "They will face charges for assault. Several are still in the medical bay. You did significant damage." "They should not have cornered our medic," Taehyun said simply. The security chief studied him. "You fight like soldiers. What were you before you became cargo haulers?" "We have always been cargo haulers," Taehyun replied. "This is just how humans are." That answer troubled the chief more than any other would have. She let them go and watched as they collected Hyejin from the medical bay and headed toward the docks. As soon as they were gone, she sent the security footage up the chain of command with a note. "Recommend updating threat assessment for human species." In the medical bay, Thraxus was having his eyes treated. The caustic solution had caused temporary damage, but he would recover. His pride, however, was destroyed. A human female had blinded him with cleaning chemicals. A human male half his size had defeated a Vorax warrior in single combat. This should not have been possible. In his anger, he decided to post about it on the galactic networks. He wanted to warn other warriors. He wanted them to know that humans were more dangerous than they appeared. He recorded a message from his medical bed, his eyes still bandaged. "This is Thraxus, commander of the Vorax Combat Unit Red Scale. I am posting a warning to all warriors of all species. Humans are not what they seem. They have no honor in combat. They use every dirty trick. They attack weak points. They use the environment as weapons. They do not fight alone." 4 of them disabled 27 trained warriors from multiple species. If this is what their civilians can do, imagine what their soldiers are capable of. Do not underestimate humans. Do not provoke them. They are more dangerous than they look. He posted it to several warrior networks and combat forums. He expected sympathy. He expected other warriors to understand his warning. What he did not expect was for the message to spread like wildfire across the entire galactic network. Within hours, the video footage from the tavern was leaking onto public networks. Someone on the station security team, probably looking to make some money, sold it to news agencies. By the next day, the fight at the Wanderer's Rest was being discussed on hundreds of worlds. Different species had different reactions. The warrior cultures were shocked and intrigued. The peaceful species were horrified. The merchant guild started calculating what this meant for trade and diplomacy. Everyone was talking about the humans. Rishan finished the report and submitted it to the Galactic Academic Council. The title was simple: Threat Assessment, Humanity. In it, the anthropologist detailed everything learned about human evolution, history, and combat capabilities. The conclusion was stark. Humanity represents a unique challenge to galactic stability. They possess the technological advancement of a civilized species, but retain the survival instincts and combat knowledge of a predator species. Recommendation: establish formal diplomatic relations immediately. Study their culture thoroughly. Never provoke them without overwhelming force. The report was distributed to governments, military academies, and research institutions across the galaxy. Combined with the video footage, it created a wave of reaction that no one had anticipated. On their ship, preparing to leave the station, Dae-hyun and his crew had no idea what was happening. They just wanted to get away from Helios 7 and find a quiet place to rest and heal. Bora was checking the ship's systems. Taemin was plotting a course to their next destination. Hyojin was restocking the medical supplies they had used. Dae-hyun sat in the captain's chair and initiated the departure sequence. As the station released their docking clamps, he felt relief. The fight was behind them. They could move forward. He had no way of knowing that the fight had just begun. Not a physical fight, but something bigger. The galaxy's entire perception of humanity was shifting, and whether they wanted it or not, the 4 of them had become the face of that shift. Their faces were on news feeds across 100 worlds. Their actions were being analyzed by military strategists. Their species was being discussed in government chambers and academic halls. The humans who just wanted to haul cargo and make a living had accidentally changed the course of galactic history, and they would not find out until they reached their next port 3 weeks later. 3 weeks in deep space gave Dae-hyun and his crew time to heal. The bruises faded from purple to yellow to nothing. Hee-jin's arm stopped hurting. Taemin's nightmares about the fight became less frequent. Bora stopped checking over her shoulder every few minutes. Life on the ship returned to the comfortable routine they all knew. They talked about the fight sometimes, late at night when they could not sleep. Bora thought it was funny how scared the Vorax had looked when she threw the cleaning solution. Taemin was embarrassed that he had been so frightened. Hee-jin said nothing, but Dae-hyun could see the guilt in her eyes. She was a healer and she had hurt people. "You defended yourself," he told her one night in the mess hall. "You did nothing wrong." "I know where to strike to disable someone without killing them," she said quietly. "I use my medical knowledge to hurt people. That feels wrong. Would you rather they hurt you?" Dae-hyun asked. She did not answer, but she nodded slowly. She understood. Sometimes survival required violence. It was a hard truth, but truth nonetheless. They arrived at their next destination, a trading station called Meridian Hub. It was larger than Helios 7, with more traffic and better facilities. Dae-hyun was looking forward to restocking supplies and finding their next cargo contract. They docked smoothly and began the usual procedures. But something was different. As they walked through the station corridors, other beings moved aside. Not just a little, but noticeably. A group of Krill soldiers saw them coming and crossed to the other side of the corridor. A Vorax merchant actually pressed himself against the wall as they passed. "Is it just me?" Bora whispered. "Or is everyone avoiding us?" "They are staring too," Taemin added. Several aliens were indeed watching them, their expressions ranging from fear to curiosity to respect. They reached a trading office to look for cargo contracts. The alien merchant behind the counter, a shardborn being, looked up and froze. Its crystalline body flickered rapidly, a sign of agitation. "You are the humans from Helios 7, it said. Dae-hyun frowned. "Yes, we hauled cargo there." "How do you know that?" "Everyone knows," the merchant said. "The fight. The video. It has been on every network for weeks." "What video?" Bora asked, though she was starting to understand. The merchant turned its terminal screen around. On it was footage from the tavern. High quality, multiple angles. The fight played out in perfect detail. Hee-jin breaking the Krill's arm. Bora throwing caustic liquid. Dae-hyun taking down the massive Vorax, all of it captured and shared across the galaxy. The view counter on the video was in the billions. Dae-hyun felt his stomach sink. "How many beings have seen this?" "Most of the galaxy, I would think," the merchant said. "It has been discussed in news programs, military academies, government councils. The 4 of you are famous." They left the office in stunned silence. As they walked back toward their ship, they started noticing more details. Aliens whispering as they passed. Some taking pictures with data devices. Others backing away as if the humans might attack at any moment. "This is bad," Taemin said. "This is very bad," Dae-hyun agreed. Back on the ship, they searched for information about themselves. What they found was overwhelming. The video had spawned thousands of discussions. Military analysts were breaking down their tactics. News commentators were speculating about human combat training. Some aliens were calling for restrictions on human travel. Others wanted to hire human security forces. And there were the memes. Apparently some species had the same sense of humor as humans. There were edited videos, jokes, parodies. "Don't mess with humans" had become a common phrase. Pictures of the crew had been turned into warning symbols. Bora started laughing. She could not help it. "We are space legends. We are the scary humans everyone warns about." "This is not funny," Hee-jin said. But even she was smiling a little. The absurdity of it was overwhelming. A message arrived on the ship's communication system. It was from the Galactic Council, requesting their presence at the central government station. The message was polite but firm. It was not really a request. 2 days later, they stood in the council chambers. The room was enormous, designed to accommodate representatives from hundreds of species. But today, only the major powers were present. 12 species, the oldest and most influential in the galaxy, sat in a semicircle facing the 4 humans. Dae-hyun felt very small. Bora stood straight, trying not to show fear. Taemin was sweating despite the cool temperature. Hee-jin's face was calm, but her hands were clenched into fists. A human was also present, standing to the side of the council. She was older, perhaps 60, with gray hair and sharp eyes. She wore formal diplomatic clothes with the Earth Federation insignia. Her name, according to her badge, was Jiwoo. She was humanity's representative to the council. The council leader, a tall being with blue skin and multiple eyes, spoke first. We have reviewed the incident at Station Helios 7. We have read the reports. We have consulted with experts. Now we wish to hear from you directly. Explain to us how civilian humans fight. Daehyun stepped forward. We defended ourselves. That is all? That is not all, another council member said. This one was reptilian, similar to the Vorax but older and more refined. You employed tactics that most species reserve for military operations. You showed coordination that suggests extensive training, yet our records indicate you are cargo haulers with no formal combat experience. Explain this contradiction. Bora could not stay quiet. It is not a contradiction. It is just being human. The council members exchanged looks. One of them, a being made of flowing energy contained in a suit, leaned forward. Expand on that statement. Daehyun thought carefully about his words. On Earth we have a saying. The best way to survive a fight is to win quickly. We do not have natural weapons. We do not have armor or venom or size. What we have is intelligence and the willingness to use everything available to us. When we fight to survive. That means no rules except one. Protect each other. You targeted vulnerable areas, a council member noted. Yes, because we are not strong enough to go through armor or scales, so we go around them. You used improvised weapons. Yes, because we do not carry weapons normally, so we use what is available. Your female fought alongside your males, Hee-jin spoke up for the first time. I am a medic. I know anatomy. I know where to strike to disable without killing. Why would I not use that knowledge to defend myself? The council was silent for a long moment. Then the leader spoke again. We have studied your species' history. Your planet is classified as a death world. You evolved as pursuit predators. You have been at war with yourselves for 10,000 years. You have created weapons capable of destroying your own planet. Is this accurate? Yashir, Daehyun said simply. And yet you seek peace among the stars. We learned, Daehyun said. We nearly destroyed ourselves several times. We learned that cooperation is better than conflict. But that does not mean we forgot how to fight. It just means we choose not to unless we have no other choice. Jiwoo, the human diplomat, stepped forward. If I may address the council. What happened at Helios 7 was self-defense, nothing more. But I understand the council's concern. Humans are different from most species you have encountered. We come from a harsh world. We survived by being tough, adaptable, and smart. We brought those qualities with us to space. But we also brought our capacity for cooperation, creativity, and compassion. Judge us by our actions, not by your fears. Another council member spoke. This one was insectoid, similar to the krill. We are not discussing punishment. We are discussing classification. How should the galaxy approach humanity? Should there be restrictions? Should there be precautions? The debate that followed lasted hours. Some council members wanted to limit human expansion. They saw humans as potentially dangerous. Others argued for equal treatment. Humans had done nothing wrong. They defended themselves. That was their right. Finally, the leader called for a decision. We will not restrict humanity. You are recognized as a sovereign species with full rights under galactic law. However, we will issue an advisory to all member species. Humans are not to be provoked. They are more capable of defending themselves than their appearance suggests. Conflicts with humans should be avoided. Daehyun wanted to argue. They were not monsters. They were just people trying to live their lives. But Jiwoo put a hand on his shoulder and shook her head slightly. This was as good an outcome as they could hope for. They were dismissed. As they left the council chambers, Jiwoo walked with them. That went better than I feared, she said. The council could have imposed serious restrictions. Instead, they basically told everyone to leave humans alone. We are not dangerous, Hee-jin said quietly. You are, Jiwoo replied gently. You just do not realize it because you are comparing yourselves to other humans. But compared to most species in the galaxy, yes, you are dangerous. The difference is that you only become dangerous when threatened. Most species can live with that. They returned to their ship. The galaxy had changed, or rather the galaxy's perception of them had changed. They were no longer just another cargo crew. They were humans, and now everyone knew what that meant. 6 months passed. The galaxy adapted to its new understanding of humanity. The video from the Wanderer's Rest became required viewing in military academies across dozens of worlds. Instructors used it to teach cadets about unconventional warfare, environmental awareness, and unit cohesion. The 4 humans in the video became case studies. At the Vorax War Academy, young warriors watched the footage with their instructors. "Notice how the humans use everything as a weapon," an old commander explained. "The table, the chair, the broken glass. Most species only think about the weapons they carry. Humans think about the weapons around them. This makes them dangerous anywhere, anytime." At the Krill Strategic Institute, the analysis was different. See how they protect each other without communication. There are no verbal orders. No signals. They simply know where each other is and what each other needs. This level of coordination usually requires years of training together, but for humans it seems natural. At the Shardborn Diplomatic College, students studied the cultural implications. The humans did not want to fight. They tried to avoid conflict. But when forced to defend themselves, they did so with overwhelming effectiveness. This suggests a species that values peace but is prepared for war. We must remember both aspects when dealing with them. The ripple effects went beyond military education. Trade negotiations changed. When human merchants sat down with alien partners, there was a new respect in the room. Pirates began avoiding ships with human crews listed in the registries. The risk was not worth it. Even criminal organizations updated their threat assessments. For Daehyun and his crew, life became strange. They were still cargo haulers, still doing the same work, but everything around them had changed. At every station they visited, beings recognized them. Some wanted autographs, some wanted to hire them as security, some just wanted to stare. Bora found it entertaining. She started a small side business selling merchandise with their faces on it. T-shirts, patches, data chips with the fight footage. "If we are going to be famous," she said, "we might as well profit from it." Taemin struggled with the attention. He had never thought of himself as a warrior. He was a navigator who happened to get into one fight. The way people looked at him now made him uncomfortable. Like he was dangerous. Like he might attack at any moment. Yejin withdrew further into herself. She still did her job perfectly, but she spoke less, smiled less. The guilt of using her medical knowledge to hurt others still weighed on her. Daehyun worried about her. As for Daehyun himself, he just wanted things to go back to normal. But he knew they never would. The galaxy had seen what humans could do, and that knowledge could not be erased. They made friends with Jiwoo, the human diplomat. She visited their ship whenever they were in the same sector. Over drinks in the mess hall, she explained the broader political situation. "Humanity is being taken seriously now," she said. "Before the fight, most species saw us as newcomers who got lucky with technology. Now they understand we are survivors from a harsh world. The Council respects that. Fear it maybe, but respect it too." "I do not want to be feared," Daehyun said. "Then do not be fearsome," Jiwoo replied. "Be what you have always been. Honest traders, good neighbors, reliable partners. The galaxy will learn that humans are only dangerous when threatened. That is actually a good reputation to have." One evening, they received an unexpected visitor. Rishan, the Shardborn anthropologist from Helios 7, requested permission to board their ship. Daehyun was curious enough to agree. Rishan's crystalline form seemed dimmer than it had been 6 months ago, as if the being was tired. "I wanted to meet you," Rishan said in the flowing musical language that Shardborn used. "I wrote the report that changed how the galaxy views your species. I wanted to see if I was right about you." They talked for hours. Rishan asked questions about Earth, about human culture, about their childhoods. The anthropologist wanted to understand not just how humans fought, but why they fought the way they did. Yejin explained her background. She had grown up in a coastal city on Earth where typhoons were common. "We learned early that nature was dangerous. We learned to prepare, to adapt, to survive. That mindset never left me." Bora talked about growing up in a rough neighborhood. "You learned to watch your surroundings. You learned to use what you had. You learned that sometimes you have to fight back or people will keep pushing you." Taemin was from a mountain village. Life was hard. Winter was harsh. But we helped each other. The community was everything. That is why I did not think twice about defending my crew. They are my family. Daehyun told stories about his childhood in a city split between wealth and poverty. "I learned that the galaxy is not fair. Good people suffer. Bad people prosper. But you can choose how you respond. You can choose to protect the people who matter to you. Rishan listened to everything. Finally, the anthropologist spoke. I think I understand now. Most species in the galaxy became peaceful because they evolved past violence. But humans became peaceful while still remembering violence. You choose peace, but you do not forget how to fight. That is what makes you different. You are not more violent than other species. You are just more ready for violence if it comes. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? Heejin asked. It is neither, Rishan said. It simply is. The galaxy must accept that humans are both peaceful and prepared. I hope my report helps species understand that. After Rishan left, the crew sat quietly in the mess hall. Bora broke the silence. So we are famous for being human, for doing what came naturally. That is strange. It is, Daehyun agreed. But maybe it is also good. If the galaxy understands us better, maybe there will be fewer conflicts. Or maybe they will fear us and avoid us, Taemin said. Either way, we are safer than we were, Heejin added. No one will corner me in a corridor again. They raised their glasses in a quiet toast. Their next stop was a medium-sized trading station called Haven Point. As they walked through the docks, they noticed the usual pattern. Beings moving aside, whispers, stares. But then something different happened. A young Vorax approached them. He was smaller than most of his species. Probably just graduated from whatever military academy his kind attended. He stopped a respectful distance away and bowed his head. Captain Daehyun? He asked in accented common trade language. Yes, my name is Kresh. I graduated from the Vorax War Academy last month. My instructors showed us the recording of your fight. They said you demonstrated perfect economy of force. You used minimum effort for maximum effect. You wasted no motion. I wanted to thank you for the lesson. Daehyun was surprised. I was just defending my crew. That is the lesson, Kresh said. You did not fight for glory. You did not fight to prove strength. You fought to protect what mattered to you, and you did it efficiently. That is what real warriors do. My instructor said we should learn from you. He bowed again and walked away. The crew stood in silence for a moment. Did that just happen? Bora asked. I think we just got respect from a Vorax warrior, Taemin said, sounding amazed. They continued to the Tavern district. Haven Point had several options. They chose one called the Quiet Corner. It was smaller than the Wanderer's Rest, less crowded, with softer lighting and calmer atmosphere. They found a booth and ordered drinks. For the first time in 6 months, no one bothered them. Other beings in the tavern glanced at them occasionally but did not approach. There were no comments. No provocations, just a peaceful evening. This is nice, Heejin said. She actually smiled. This is what I wanted. Just a quiet drink. We earned it, Daehyun said. We survived. We protected each other. We did what we had to do, and now the galaxy knows not to mess with us. Bora raised her glass. To being taken seriously, Taemin lifted his. To not having to prove ourselves anymore. Heejin touched her glass to theirs. To being left alone, Daehyun completed the toast. To being human. Apparently that is enough. They drank together, 4 cargo haulers who had accidentally changed the galaxy's perception of their entire species. They had not wanted fame. They had not wanted to be symbols. They had just wanted to defend themselves. But sometimes history chooses its moments through ordinary people doing ordinary things. And for humanity, that moment came in a tavern on a distant station when 4 civilians showed the galaxy what humans were capable of when threatened. The galaxy learned. Humans were not the strongest species. They were not the most advanced. They were not the most numerous. But they were survivors from a harsh world who had learned to adapt, to use everything available, to fight smart rather than fight hard, and to never abandon their own. That knowledge spread across star systems and through diplomatic channels. It became part of the common understanding of galactic civilization. Humans were friends to those who offered friendship, traitors to those who offered trade, and dangers to those who offered violence. It was not the reputation humanity had planned to build, but it was the reputation they earned. And in the cold mathematics of galactic politics, it was a reputation that would keep them safe. The 4 humans finished their drinks in comfortable silence. Tomorrow they would load new cargo and chart a course to another station. They would continue their lives as cargo haulers. The galaxy might remember them as warriors, but they knew the truth.